Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I want to talk to you this morning about something I feel it's not getting enough airplay online. I mean, you can certainly find out about it, but man, for what's going on, I think it should be dominating the news. And while it's on the other side of the planet, pretty much, those of us here in the United States, I know that there's a lot of you listening other places too, so I don't forget about you. But those of us that's not living where this is at, we should still take notice because it is happening everywhere and it's happening for a reason. And if you're wondering what in the world's he talking about, I'm talking about a massive amount of African immigrants that have flooded to an island in Italy. I talk about this actually yesterday in my podcast. I do a podcast every week. If you're not listening to the podcast, you probably should. I talk about this and other illegal immigration issues yesterday. Podcast is getting some pretty good reviews. Just got a notice this morning that on Apple Podcasts alone, it is ranked 130 in the news and politics genre, and that's out of about 200,000 podcasts. So you can go to just about any podcast provider, platform, Spotify, Apple, bunch of others, and you can listen to it. But anyways, so what's happened, if you're not familiar, there's a small island that is part of Italy. And, well, apparently in the last few days, multiple boats showed up with thousands and thousands of immigrants and dumped them off on this island. This island has a population of about 5,000, 5,500, something like that. And up till this morning, they're saying that about 7,000 African immigrants have been dumped off on this island. So just imagine. And it's not like you can't even really compare it to a city because it's an island, it's closed off. But just take a city. How many of you that are watching live in a city of about 5,000? And think of 7,000 people just showing up into your little town. That would be very comparable. It is absolutely causing chaos. Some videos here. There's a lot of violence that's just spontaneously erupted, of course. The city officials, the police, I'm sure there can't be that many police on an island of just 5,000 people. They don't know what to do. The Italian government has declared a state of emergency on the island. They are trying to get resources in there to try to control the situation. Already, just since this has happened the last couple of days, there's videos of random acts of violence by these African immigrants. They're defecating in the streets. They're stealing things, assaulting women. It's absolute, complete chaos. I mean, this is, that I deal with this kind of stuff all the time, news and events and tragic things that I'm constantly reporting on. I'll admit, you kind of get a little callous sometimes. Well, that's just the way things are nowadays. It's just those times. I try not to be, but it sometimes happens. But this one, man, this one is quite amazing and really sad of what's going on. And the reason why I'm really talking about it is not just the sadness of the situation, but it's because that's what's happening in a lot of places. This one stands out because it's such a shocking number, right? But this is exactly happening all over. In fact, part of this New World Order Great Reset Agenda 2030, the beast system, I mean, that's what it is to basically shift a large portion of the people living in the southern hemisphere, for the most part, into the northern hemisphere, or really from the developing poor third world countries into the West. Klaus Schwab has talked about this. The World Economic Forum has put out information on this. The United Nations talks about this. They talk about how this climate change is displacing, over 1 billion people on the planet, and that the Western nations, the developing nations, should accept them. I mean, look at what's happening in the United States. Millions, and I mean millions of people a year are coming across the border. Right now, from the latest numbers that I've seen, the most conservative numbers are about 3 million. A year, this year and last year, but we're getting into that 5 million mark, and I know that the White House wants to say that immigration is really down. And if you don't understand why they're saying that, other than the lie, basically, they're not counting all of these illegals coming across the border anymore as illegal. They're counting them as refugees, that they're asylum seekers. And so when they say, well, illegal immigration, illegal border crossings really down, it's because 80 to 90% of the people that are coming across the border, they're being considered asylum seekers, and so they don't count as an illegal. But this problem is becoming so big and widespread. Saw an article just this morning that New York Public Schools is struggling because there's thousands and thousands of illegal children now going to public schools there that they haven't planned for, and none of them have any kind of vaccinations, and they don't have any kind of health screening, but they're letting them go to the schools. I'm sure that's going to work out great. Probably will be some big outbreak of something. But it won't be because of all the illegals pouring into that country, of course. The Texas border is just, it's awful. I've spoken to and heard information from multiple people that live near the Texas border, and it's never good news, and it's always getting worse. This is spreading across the United States. Europe is just about on the brink of collapse in a lot of ways because of the massive migrants that influx into many of the European nations. Heard from someone down in New Zealand. They said the same thing is happening there. It is happening everywhere in the Western world. And we all know about this. I mean, I'm not really telling you anything you didn't know already. Am I correct? You know it's happening. You know it's bad. And you know the government isn't doing anything about it. But what some people may not still understand, that this is all planned. This is all for a purpose. It isn't just happening. Do you really think that tens of thousands and even millions of illegals or people south of the border just one day all decide to get up and start moving north? They say it's because there's lack of jobs. They say it's because of poverty and all this. But when you look at the people that are coming across the border, it really doesn't fit that bill. They're young, healthy males predominantly, and most of them look fairly not poor. At least not poor to the levels of what you would expect to see south of the border. They come well clothed, decent, nice clothes. They're not really coming here to work in large part. That used to be the case. It used to be even just a few years ago. The majority of the immigrants were coming here to find work. Most of them are not. Most of them are not working. They're becoming involved in various other activities that aren't necessarily legal. And you still have to ask yourself the question, why is this happening? Well, if you do a little digging, and I've done and I've shown before in past videos, the United Nations and several other NGOs associated with the United Nations has been working really, really hard in a lot of these developing countries, including the United States. The United States is with them. You can see pictures of United States officials and stuff in these countries, encouraging people to come to America, encouraging them to come to Europe, encouraging them to come to other places that are, the West. They give them pamphlets, they give them paperwork, teaching them what to say. When they cross the border, what's the first thing you do? They're basically schooled in how to enter this country and to get all the benefits that they can. They're given cell phones and all sorts of things. In fact, they're usually given free rides. You see these migrant caravans where they're walking and they're thinking, my goodness, these poor people, they've walked 4,000 miles just to get to the border. No, they usually walk about a half mile, maybe a mile at the most. They get them bussed in close to the border, drop them off, and then they just walk. Because it's a good photo op. This is being done because they're trying to destroy the West. Destroying the West has been an objective for probably at least 2 to 3 decades. You can go back that far and you can find all kinds of very intelligent folks that's written on it, that the objective is to destroy the West. Speaking of my podcast, several weeks ago, I made a podcast of why they're wanting to destroy the West. And my conclusion is that the West is the last kind of stand of kind of that Christian biblical mindset, and they want to completely destroy that. And the only way that they can destroy that kind of Bible worldview, God-centered worldview, is they have to destroy the West. And so they're destroying the West because of its biblical worldview, family-centric, traditional moral values, wealth, hardworking, independence, that kind of stuff is predominant in Western culture, along with refinement and trying to do better and to be better and to better for your fellow man. And so they're trying to destroy the West because of that. Many other reasons too. I get it. But that's their objective. And so one of the ways to destroy the West is to just dump a bunch of migrants that have no concept of how to exist in the West. And many of them are very violent. A lot of these come from gangs and tribes and other places around the world that engage in a lot of violence. And so they're bringing them into Western countries, the United States, Europe, New Zealand, several other countries, and it's completely destroyed. Now, you all know all of this, but the point is that this is happening, I'm pretty sure, on a scale even far greater than most people realize. Michael Yon, who reports extensively on immigration issues, is currently saying that by his best estimates, there are about 1 million people in South America that are currently moving towards the United States border. Now, that doesn't mean 1 million all in one batch, but between the different caravans and things that are moving, it's believed to be around 1 million. Again, Europe is just, it's in the news all the time, the level of violence, the sadistic things that are happening. This is to break down our culture, is to break us down and to flood our system. And, we're already dealing with massive supply chain issues and massive financial issues and housing issues and all of these other issues, healthcare, everything is, our whole system from top down seems to be just hanging on by a thread. And then we're dumping millions of more people into that system. And not only are we dumping millions of more people into that system, but the vast majority of these people are not contributing to the system. They're draining the system. Can you imagine this being done just accidentally? Can you imagine someone just allowing this and not realizing why this, that this is the outcome? No, of course, they understand what the outcome is. Why do you think the Biden administration has fought so hard to allow this? By court systems telling Texas they can't put up any barriers, by Biden selling off the border wall part so that now they can't even finish the border wall. There's all kinds of things that they're doing to try to encourage and stop any barriers preventing illegals from coming into this country. That's being done for a purpose, folks. We're watching our country completely be destroyed. For many years, I remember when I was younger, there was a lot of talk about how multiculturalism is going to destroy this country. And of course, at that time, and still is today, there was a lot of pushback that, that sounds like some kind of racist concept. Multiculturalism is bad. Well, it is in the sense that you're trying to push all of these radically different cultures into an existing culture and not retain that. This is not sustainable, folks. This is what we're doing is not going to last, and everybody knows it, and no one's doing anything about it. So can you stop it? Can I stop it? No, of course not, unfortunately. But what we can do is prepare for it. We need to realize that our society and our civilization is being completely destroyed from within. And it is on a downward spiral. We are watching the last days of this civilization play out. And you need to be getting ready for it because it's going to get worse. These places where you see that look like third world countries now, it's going to start happening closer and closer to you. It already is happening in many places in the United States, but it will eventually get closer to you. And you need to start doing the things that you need to do to take precautions. Get prepared, get stocked up, get trained up, and most especially get prayed up, because dark times are coming to this country in many ways, not just the immigration problem. So you need to be getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.